Hi,
Yep.
hi, friends. Host Eric here, host of Talking with Famous People. You may recognize my guest here today. Her name's Meghan LeVota. She's another
Hello.
YouTuber in the typology community, and I thought we thought it'd be fun if I typed her. And so we're gonna make that video, and I obviously have my opinion going in about what type she is, but I'm going to try to pretend to be as blank slate as possible. As far as I'm concerned right now, your name is Mogan Levoto. You're somebody who's similarly named, looks similar, but are not Meghan LeVota. I don't know anything about you. You're just this blank slate person, brand new to me, okay?
Okay.
So I always begin these things normally by asking what your background in typology is. But I'm going to skip that question right now. I'm going to skip
Okay.
that one and go straight into um, some questions. Just give me a general sense of what kind of person you are, what kind of things you're interested in
Okay.
value and stuff. So if someone were to knock on your door of roughly, it's like 8 p.m. on a Friday evening, you don't have anything going on, and they're like, Megan, there's an exciting party down the street, and it's rocking. Come on, let's go. What do you do?
Uh, I don't know. Probably not go. I mean, it depends on if I know them.
So, what information do you want to know before you make a decision about whether or not you're going to go?
What's the vibe? Like, is it really chill or is it like really intense?
It's
Like,
off the chain, Megan. It's off the chain.
they're sitting around smoking, discussing philosophy, or are they like,
They're
are they like,
like jumping
dance
off the roof
party?
into the pool.
No way. No.
You don't want
I
that.
mean, in college, in college, I went to house parties probably every Friday and Saturday. Um, but I would go to see my friends and just to sort of say hello to people, or like I'm the sort of person at parties that would um, sort of pull people to the corner to talk to them or get to know them.
Okay.
Or like, I don't know, I would have to be very comfortable to let loose like that. Like, I mean, I have to really mentally prepare for like a day,
Okay.
probably.
All right. So,
So I'd probably say no.
okay. You talk about wanting to deal with people, taking them aside and stuff. Do you prefer to deal with people one on one, or do you prefer to interact with people in a group?
It depends. That's changed like sort of throughout the years where I used to be way more group focused, but now I'm more one on one. But really, my ideal setting would be about 5 or 6 people who I feel comfortable with, because if it's a bunch of people that I don't really feel comfortable with, or if it's like the vibe is just off, where like they are super interested in like doing one thing and someone else is interested in something else, I feel the need to make everyone get along, and it's just too much pressure for me to be in an environment where different people, I could just like feel the dissonance between them. So I've learned that it's actually overwhelming for me to feel like it's my job to make them get along, and so I kind of just avoid that now.
I
But
see. Um, so, is there anybody in your life, be it a significant other or a good friend or a parent or somebody in your life who's close, that you have frequent disputes about something small about? For example, maybe I
yeah.
hate the way you always leave the refrigerator door open or something small like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I'm always leaving the refrigerator door open, and I'm always forgetting to fill up the water pitcher. And my mom never understood why I couldn't close cabinets either. But as far as like my best friend, like the more like screaming matches, it's been because I feel offended by them, like they weren't uh, acknowledging my feelings, and they feel pressure from me and they want me to leave them alone. That's actually a big thing. Growing up is give me some fucking space and drop it. Go away from me. Is sort of the
Is that the way people told you there's something wrong with you? Is it?
yeah, it was always like, why can't you just drop it? Why can't you just chill out? Why can't you just like get over it emotionally?
So it was important for you to get the narratives aligned. If they
Yes.
agreed with your narrative, was that satisfactory to you?
Yes, and the thing, if somebody told me, Megan, we'll finish this conversation tomorrow, I need space. would say, cool, you've got space. But if they just went away from me, then I would think that it was my fault, or that like, oh no, I wasn't paying attention to them enough. I better like clarify that I didn't mean to hurt them or something.
Okay, so you hated the notion that somebody might take away bad impression of you without you
Yes.
having an opportunity to correct that misconception.
Yes, I always want to make sure I'm on the same page with people, and I guess like really knowing what, being able to pick my battles has been a huge thing.
Okay.
Like especially with emotional things, like knowing when to drop it.
Okay, so you mentioned having a dispute with somebody about them not respecting your feelings or not displaying enough, I guess, overt acknowledgement that your feelings have to be considered in an equation or something. Can you think of the last time that actually, an actual specific instance of that occurring?
Let me think. Yeah. My best friend was asking me to analyze whether or not this boy liked her. And I said the same thing like 10 times in a row. And then I blew up and I was just like, look, you aren't listening to my advice anyway, so I'm not going to just continue to tell you what I think.
Do you remember when that was, where you were when you had that conversation?
No. I mean, I just see things pretty cyclically anyway, of like, it tends to always happen. And I know it happened recently.
Okay, right. That's, okay, so in general, I'm going to try this test I do for SI Polar, okay? And we're going to try it. All right, so I'm going to tell you a bunch of sequential, boring details about my morning after I woke up, okay? None of which are very important or meaningful at all, but all of which happened in sequence as I dictate. And then I'm going to ask you to do the same thing for your morning, okay?
For my morning.
Yeah, so here's what I did. I woke up around 8 a.m. I got up, I peed, I went outside, I waited for my coffee to make. I made coffee first. I waited for it to finish making so that I had a cup of coffee before I lit my first cigarette, because I like to have coffee with my cigarette. And then after that, I came back inside here and I started watching a live stream from last night for a while and smoking some bong rips. And then I got bored with watching the live stream, so I decided to live stream again. So I live streamed for a while. And then I was done with that and I was like, what should I do now? I'm bored. And so then I was like, I know, I got an idea. I'll text Meghan LeVota and suggest we make a video together. And it just so happens that normally you'd be busy this time of day, but you're available right now. So
Yeah.
it worked out great. But okay, that was my morning. So do you want to tell me the same thing about your morning?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I work from home on Fridays. I guess I feel the need to give you background to tell you why, which I guess is not important. But okay, actually no, this was my train of thought in the morning, is that I typically do my podcast with Crystal, Synchronic Saturdays. We typically film it at 10 a.m. in the mornings. But I purposely did not set an alarm because this week has been so stressful with my dishwasher not working. I found a cockroach and just everything feels like it's breaking loose for me. And I intentionally was like, you know what? If I wake up on time, then it's meant to be. I'm doing the podcast. If I don't wake up on time, then I'm not going to do it. And then I woke up and to a text from her like, hello. And then I like knew, okay, if she begs me to do this podcast, then I'm going to do it. And then she begged me to do it. And I'm like, okay. But I like, was just laying around feeling sorry for myself for I gave myself a couple minutes to feel sorry for myself. And then I decided that it was time to be done feeling sorry for myself. And I gave myself some coffee and I was just like, pretty much in an existential crisis mode. Wait, what did and then I probably went to the bathroom. I don't know.
That's great.
Next thing I knew, I was doing a podcast, and then next thing I knew, you texted me.
Okay, cool. So the thing is, that to me sounds like a pretty developed SI polar. Like you, as an ENFJ, you've gotten in the habit probably of being able to give some specific examples and try to relate back some specific stuff from your past because you understand that people relate better to what you're saying when they have specific
Yeah.
examples. And as an FE Dom, that's important to you to develop some of those skills at least, you know? So you're
Yeah.
more SI competent than an ENTJ. But I would say that's
Uh-huh.
definitely still SI polar. I could see you just getting restless as I'm telling my story, right? As I'm telling my story, the morning you're just getting, you're like, ah, oh, this is boring. Oh my god.
And you know what's funny is that I had like this revelation today, or not today, yesterday. Sorry, about the fact that my body literally is at its. I've reached my limit, and I'm realizing that I've been sprinting for 3 years, if not more. Every time I don't have the energy to do something, I'll just get it over with. And like I've just had a really hard week because I literally don't have the energy to do what I need to do. And like in my head, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And every single day I go to bed with the idea that I only did half of the things that I set out to do. And it's just been happening. And I'm like, feel like this intense backlog. And so I've just been like really mad at myself for having a body. Like this morning I was so tired and I was like, God damn it. And like I'm trying to embrace being lazy.
That's a good idea. You're trying to find some sort of look. We got to remember. I think this is my notion about our polars is that our polars are our retarded children selves, and so we have to try to treat them lovingly because they're still part of ourselves. They do tend to get in the way. They mostly cause problems. We don't seem to have a lot of value for them. But to the extent that we can treat that part of ourselves lovingly, so if I can care about my FI and try to give it space to roam around when it's comfortable or when it's free, you know, and not get hit by a car or whatever, then that's a good thing.
Oh my God.
That's what I think.
It was hilarious. Literally the other day, I was bawling my eyes out, and then I decided that I was gonna just try and do my dishes with it because the maintenance guy wasn't here yet to fix the dishwasher, and I was crying while doing the dishes. And then I was like, you know what? I'm good at this. And I felt my mental health was off the charts after that. I was just like, I could do anything.
So it's funny. I typed an ENFJ the other day, and I noted that she had a slight look of as though she had recently cried. And I remember hearing you mention before that people sometimes say you look like you were just crying, even when you weren't just crying at all.
Yeah.
Is that something you've always experienced?
Well, okay. Well, my take on that is that since I want to allow every emotion to come through, the whole spectrum of emotions, that I feel like you can see things on my face that most people would try and hide. And so typically with most people, especially like a TEFI user, if you begin to see something on their face, then that is when you know that they're about to explode and loot. But like for me, it's like everything in between, from completely fine to about to explode. You get to see all of it. And so I think that could be confusing for people. But, you know, part of it is just that I'm not necessarily afraid to share if something isn't going well. Like, even I'm just like joking with you about how stressed I am. It's like that kind of is bonding for people, because I think a lot of people try and pretend like they have everything worked out fine. And I don't mind being like sort of like the person to openly say like, actually everything's not fine. But like that doesn't mean that I'm gonna break down and cry. Like it actually takes a lot for me to lose control. Like even like this morning when I said I let myself feel sorry for myself for a second, I wasn't really like crying. And like whenever I was crying while doing the dishes, like that hasn't happened in several months. So
See, I cry quite a bit, but I think that has to do with being FI polar. Do you find me easy to read my emotions?
Yeah.
I think most people do. I'm a bad poker player, you know?
Yeah, and I find it easier to read ESTP's emotions. I would say, honestly, learning more, if I hadn't researched more about NE and how it works and like talked to some of my NTP friends, I don't know if I would have just naturally been as good at reading you, because I would say the impression would be, oh, you're just joking around, nothing's that serious. But like, I know enough ENTPs to know that that's not always true. Like, I mean,
Right.
I don't know.
There certainly are things we take seriously.
Yeah.
We aren't afraid to joke about things we take seriously
Yeah.
sometimes, which can be confusing to people.
I feel like I'm kind of like that too, in a way.
I mean, we're both very metaphysical types, you know.
Yeah.
Being FENI, you've got metaphysical interface with metaphysical knowledge. That's a universalist knowledge. So the reason ENFJ is polar SI is because their tool function is using the universal truth about things. So it's like people are coming to you a lot of times with their particularist experience, probably, and saying, "Here are the specifics of my situation," and you're going, "Well, here are the universal truths that are applicable." You know.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are respond well to that. Like ENTPs respond well to that. If I were to come to you for advice, your advice would probably be very helpful to me because I respond super well to NI, and you've got NI as a tool function. But if you were to go to an ISFJ, an ISFJ is going to not like that at all.
Yeah.
Know?
Something really interesting. So, like, right now, I am working on a master's in psychology part-time, and I work part-time in social media marketing, and I have, like, sort of, like, doing YouTube stuff, and I'm starting a business with my ENFJ friend where she does graphic design and I do digital marketing, and we like kind of have our own services that we're offering. And so it's a lot happening at once. And I see how all of these paths are going in one direction, but I'm just very burnt out right now. And I'm trying to figure out how to manage like my day-to-day routine. And my mom's an ESFJ, and I was like complaining to her about it. And she's like, "It will be okay, sweetie. There's a light at the end of the tunnel." I'm like, "I know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, Mom. I don't know how to do my dishes." Like, the advice that she's giving is like, have faith in the universe or something. And like, that would maybe really help her in that situation. Like, to get out of this. Yeah.
I think it's interesting the way you're talking about basically demonstrative NE with tool function NI producing too many projects for you.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like you and I get to too many projects in a different way, but we both get to too many projects. I get to too many projects, so I've got too many ideas, and I'm having to learn to only SE a couple of them. Now, you when called upon for a situation seems to present itself as this is a project-prone situation. You go, well, here's an idea for a project. Let's do it with my SE third slot. I got my NI holistic vision of what it is. Let's execute it. And bada bing, bada boom, you know? The thing is, as an SE third slot person, you're down to do shit. So when I texted you today and suggested this thing, you get satisfaction from doing shit, right? And I get satisfaction from, you know, the FE qualities of this. I'm sure is probably going to be a pretty fun video to watch. I'm probably going to like to rewatch it. It's exciting for me to talk to you because, like I told you before in the text, you were always like, well, there's Meghan LeVota, she's like the famous one. I don't know why I've always thought that. I don't know. You just have this like quality that makes you go like, well, she's like famous. She's Meghan LeVota.
Well, I think, okay, tell me what you think of this. I feel like because my NE is like demonstrative and I'm not like an NE user, I'm not like all in the community like shooting around ideas all the time. And I think maybe people could think that that means I'm not using FE. But my FE is very intentional.
Right. I mean, the thing is, you expect the world to demand of you occasionally extroverted intuition. When it does, you produce it.
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't like to produce it. You don't use it in your own life. Your own life, you don't go, well, here's some other possibilities I could do. No, you just use your NI, right?
Yeah.
So it's only for show. That's why it's called demonstrative. It's like people, you think it's reasonable of the world to expect you to produce ideas. So when it does, you do. Just like me and TE. I think it's reasonable of the world to expect me to say how shit's done. And so when it does, I do. But I don't apply it to my own life. I can do shit the stupidest way you could ever imagine in my own life.
Yeah. So I work my as a social media marketer, almost everyone on the creative team is an NE user. It's mostly NFPs and SFJs, but like I feel like they view me as like super creative, but like they don't know what. Like my ESFJ boss is always like, "Ooh, this looks like a good project for you," and she's like, "You should caption like this cat photo." And I'm like, "What the hell? What's the point of this cat photo? Can somebody tell me why they conceptualized this idea?" And they're like, "Oh no, just have fun with it." And I'm just like, "I don't want to have fun with it."
I need more context so I can NI the thing. That's what you're basically
Yeah.
saying. Give me more context so I can correctly NI the thing and tell you what the right caption is. What do we want this thing to do?
Yeah. And I'm like, and so it can be very stressful, especially since like I'm trying to actually connect with our audience and our target market, and like I want to speak to what they want. And so it's like, what's the call to action? What do we want them to do? Like I'm very like intentional that way.
It's very 8 slot TE serving your FE with your tool function NI. It's pretty textbook. I mean, you're a nice textbook example of an ENFJ.
Why do people, I feel like I'm so textbook also, which like maybe, okay, I would say it's probably also textbook ENFJ to like one person gets you wrong and stress about that person as opposed to like everybody else.
Right.
You know what
I've noticed this with tool function FE too. Tool function and dominant FE, they are very criticism sensitive.
Yeah.
And certain kinds of criticism more than others. So the thing is, the nice thing about third slot FE is some critiques get me a little bit, but by and large, I'm not very criticism sensitive because I see it as basically a battle thing. Like they're just throwing down to do battle, and I can whip their ass. So whatever. I don't view it as real. Like it's not they're not really critiquing me. It's just an FE thing. I can beat them in the real critique. So whatever. I don't know.
You know, I've realized like it's almost like when TI knows what its opinion on something is, or at least whenever I feel my inferior TI, it makes me not feel the need to say anything because I can just be confident in it. So I can imagine that TPs, you don't always care if people disagree with you or something because you know so firmly like what you think. But for me, if somebody disagrees or counters me in any way, I feel like a responsibility to consider what they're saying, even if it is completely off base. Like, I feel like I have to include this into my TI.
Right. Well, yeah, okay. The thing is, what TI really knows is that it can win the argument. Sometimes TI is wrong. When TI comes around here and says it can win the argument, it loses the argument. The thing is, if you're not a TI above FE person, you're not so much concerned about winning or losing the argument. You'd like to see consensus, and you'd like to see basically the general population affirm this person and therefore their ideas almost. But you want them to be TI consistent, but you'd like to delegate that task. So when other people are coming in with TI, you're like, well, I would like to delegate some of this TI work. In fact, I would like to ask you a couple of TI questions because I want to see if you test out the same way that the 4th slot TI person I tested the other day did.
Yeah. Well, let me just say really quick before you do that. Oh, wait, never mind. I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry, I do that a lot too.
Okay. Take a second if you'd like.
You can keep going, and if I remember, I'll just write it down.
Okay. So one thing that the 4th slot TI person, the ENFJ I tested the other day, was not able to do are these genealogy questions. Can you tell me who my mother's sister's child is in relation to me?
Okay. Can I write it down?
Sure.
My cousin.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting. Very interesting. So that's the difference.
Could they not do it?
They probably could have done that as well.
Oh, wait. It took longer than you.
It took a lot. I mean, you wrote it down and you had to think about it. Okay. But it's conscious. Okay. So like most people with TI higher than that will go cousin. You know, they just go cousin. So they just get it right away.
my
So
god.
so that's great. That's very great example of fourth spot TI with that kind of question, and consistent with what we saw with Rachel Lapaloosa.
Okay, wait. So I don't know if this is also inferior TI, but I assumed that you were about to try and ask me a trick question.
Oh yeah, it's probably inferior TI. It was not. I was asking you a very
Because,
straightforward question.
well, yeah, and so I think that if you would have just asked me when I wasn't
Okay, I'm going to ask you another
prepared to start.
straightforward one. I'll ask you another straightforward
Okay.
one right now. Okay, ready?
Hmm.
Who is my mother's husband's wife?
No, now I'm so embarrassed.
There's
No,
nothing to be
wait.
embarrassed about. Look, there's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Okay, I literally still count on my hands.
Listen, this is just fourth slot TI. You have our amazing gifts other than that, right? And this is why your ideal mate is an
I
ISTP.
forgot what you said.
Megan, this is totally normal. Okay, it's
Hold
what
on
we
just
should
a
expect.
second. Somebody's not.
Okay, all right.
Hold on.
There's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's just normal ENFJTI, you know. But people don't necessarily like to have that revealed, I guess.
Let me go on a rant right now.
Okay, you please do. Please come
Okay.
on, Rand.
Literally, I live in an apartment complex that is it's gentrified the entire city, Kansas City. It is the man, right? It is literally the man. It is everywhere. It's this massive landlord. And I have been waiting to get my dishwasher fixed for multiple days. And I say, call me first, text me first, let me know when you're coming. And I say, I work from home on Fridays. And then they just knock on the, like, don't you think that they can get their shit together a little bit more than that? Anyway.
Is that was the guy right there?
Yeah, it was just, yeah. And by the way, this is maybe even bad TE on my part, is that even though I need this fixed, I'm so angry with them for not giving me the consideration. And so I feel like that's your fault for your system didn't work. And so, does that make sense?
Sure, because your TE is instrumental. It's not absolute value. And the eighth slot is instrumental. It's active, but it's unconscious. You don't really spend a lot of when you do TE successfully, you don't really realize you're doing TE successfully. You just are kind of, and it's serving your
It's an
FE.
accident.
Yeah, it's an accident that has to happen in order for you to be FE successful. So
Yeah.
you unconsciously, it's your most unconscious function is TE, and mine is SE. I have to do a lot of shit. Like I texted you this morning, right? That's a little bit of SE. It's a little bit of, I have an idea. Oh shit! But to make that idea happen, I'm gonna have to do something. I'm gonna have to text Meghan. Okay, well, that means I have to look in my contacts for her. God, this is hard. Okay, that's how I am with SE, right? You're kind of that way with TE too, but you end up doing the thing. You end up doing the TE that's necessary to figure out how to do shit, and it's quite effective. It's the underappreciated. It's the part of you think is retarded, but really isn't. Unlike the polar, which really is, right?
That's true.
The eighth slot is actually your most effective part. It's your most balanced function. It's doing all kinds of shit, but you're just not aware of it ever, so you don't give it any credit. And you hate it when other people push on that. You don't want me to tell you how to do shit at all.
I feel like people don't get that about EFJs. So thank you for saying that. I mean, obviously, if you read socionics and stuff, it makes it easier. But I grew up with an ENFJ dad, an ESFJ mom, and an ESFJ sister. And so, and an ESFJ grandma. Like, we were just, like, extremely FE.
That's a lot of FE, man.
Yeah, and so sometimes, like, when I first took the test, I didn't know if I was a feeler or thinker at first. Because I didn't really have, like, a comparison of, like, what a thinker was like.
Right.
Necessarily. But, like, I know, like, just me, sort of the way I just talked to that guy, like, I wasn't rude to him. But my dad, as an ENFJ, is sort of the same way, like, so frustrated at the system for clearly not caring about my convenience that I don't even care if it's more practical for them to fix it now. I don't know. Like,
But you're mad because you don't like to see, nobody likes to see their eighth slot used badly as they perceive it to be used badly. So you perceive TE as most badly used when it fails to account for FE. I see SE as most badly used when it fails to account for NE, which means I don't like to be pressured into making a decision while I'm still ideating out possibilities, right? I hate that. I hate having to decide to do shit when it's not my natural unconscious decision to do shit. Similarly, you don't like it when TE doesn't meet your basic criteria for it, which is it needs to serve FE. If it's not serving people in some sense, it's not good TE.
yeah. You shouldn't have a business if you aren't serving people. Like, I say that all the time. Like, and I'm cool with companies going completely bankrupt. Like, this whole shit about, like, Applebee's, millennials are killing Applebee's. Millennials are killing all these businesses. I'm, like, so happy to be killing them because it's their job to get people's attention.
But how are millennials killing them? By not going there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
By preferring a better option? That's not killing anybody. That's rewarding those who successfully
exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so what were you saying though about? So yeah, I literally still count with my hands. I realized.
That's fourth slot TI. You know, the thing
it gets the job done.
Sure, and the thing is, you get the concept of it. That's the main difference between fourth slot and seventh slot. Seventh slot TI, you go, who's your mother's sister's kid? They say, family? Okay, they don't get the concept of it.
Oh my god. Okay, so like, in like, IQ tests or like LSAT questions, those like logic questions, I actually do really good at those. It might take me longer or something.
Okay, and this is the thing that we discovered yesterday with the fourth slot TI as well, is that she did better at the ones that were conditional. Like, if Josie goes to the park and Bobby stays home, then whatever, you know, that kind of question.
Yeah, I'm good at those.
She did a lot better at those. The one that she struggled with the most was genealogy, same with what you did. And the reason is because of this. In a genealogy problem, you would also probably struggle a lot with this kind of problem here. There are 2 branches in a shekel, and there are 2 shekels in a bird, and there's a bird and 2 shekels in a bush. How many branches are there in a bush?
Yeah, see, I would have to draw it out.
And the reason is because in both the instances of the genealogy and that question, the words are entirely divorced from their meanings. So you have no personalized emotional experience or NIFI-FE link to the things. It's just I'm using them as symbols, like variable A, variable B, right? For people with strong TI, they naturally treat all words like that, as binary symbols. But you understand words as an attempt by people to express more complex meanings than words can actually encapsulate. Because you're a feeler.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that explains why when it's like, Billy got second place in the race and like so-and-so was last, like who was third, like those things. I do pretty good at those because I feel like I just like imagine the scenario like with people and like imagine what would be the case with that. And yeah.
But when the question divorces the meaning from the words, then you don't have anything to visualize. What do you mean a shekel has 2 branches? How does a shekel have 2 branches, you know?
Yeah, and I also realizing, so in my psychology class I'm taking right now, I'm taking data analysis and I'm taking advanced research methods, both at the same time, which is going to be a way different semester than culture of small groups, which was the one I liked. And we're having to use R, which is like a programming language for statistics. And I haven't taken statistics since 2013, like, I mean, when I was an undergrad. But I was so good at math in high school that I tested out of most of the math in college because I just didn't think it mattered. But I'm realizing that I think most of me using math, or most of math, I was using NI almost more than TI. Like, I like get the pattern or get what they're going for, and I like just get the gist of it. But I feel like I mean, yeah, I use TI, but it's a lot more like you know the algorithm in your head. I don't know if that makes
Here's the
sense.
thing. For most things in life, TE is actually a more useful form of logic, and your TE is pretty damn good in the eighth slot. So the reason for that is TE is the logic that is of specific systems. If you want to know how to solve any given specific problem, chances are you need to use TE logic, not TI logic. TI
Mm-hmm.
logic is the logic of universal argumentation. If you want to argumentationally defend something and say here are the reasons why X and not Y, then you want to use TI. But for most problems in life that you have like a job for, unless you are in the legal department trying to make legal arguments about why this contract means X or Y, then chances are you're going to be asked to use TE, not TI. And your TE in a slot is quite effective. So, I mean, it's kind of a better way to be in some sense.
You know, I considered being a lawyer, and I honestly think I would make a good lawyer. I just think that it sounds boring. Like, I looked at the LSAT and everything, and like I thought about it. I have an ENTJ uncle who's a lawyer, and to me, I almost feel like it's kind of NI in a way too, because it's like I need to understand the law. It's you're either breaking the law or you're not. I don't
Well,
know.
there is a big NI component to it because that aspect of it is what legal vector is determinate in this question. So I talked to an ENTJ lawyer one time, and he explained how, let's say the issue is felony murder. In other words, somebody gets killed during the commission of a felony, but is not actually killed by the person directly. Like, let's say, somebody robs a store, and as he's walking out, the clerk goes to pull out a gun to go after the guy and accidentally shoots himself. That would be felony murder. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So then the question is, well, what's the determinate vector there? And the determinate vectors are intent to commit a crime, there's a felony, and that a death occurs that otherwise would not have occurred but for the commission of the felony.
Mm-hmm.
And that it occurred during the commission of a felony. So those are relevant factors. Like whether or not the robber's gun was loaded is not determinate of anything. So knowing what's the determinate factor legally is an NI process.
Yeah, yeah.
But parsing out all the legal language to make a determination about what the determinate factor is involves using a fair amount of TI as well. Now, if your NI is good enough, you may be able to bypass a lot of that TI. If you've got super good NI, like you're talking about with math, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to, but I think ultimately you can get there either way. NI with less TI or TI with less NI. As long as you've got the NI, like I can always figure out what's determined, but I'm a debate coach. It's hard to tell how much of that is SI related to.
Do you also coach speech?
Yeah, I do some speech coaching. I used to. I don't anymore, but I used to.
I did duo.
Oh, you did duo?
Yeah, I went to like TOC. I don't know if you've heard
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
I bet you killed. I bet you fucking killed.
It was awesome.
ENFJ and duo and Turk? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, my duo partner was an INTJ, and we did James and the Giant Peach. And he was the one that actually told me about MBTI, like my senior year.
Did you break at TOC?
I think I got to. I can't remember if they had quarters.
They probably did. I bet they did.
I didn't get to SEM. I think I broke once, but
they might have even had octas. You never know.
Yeah, but that was, and
that's so great. I'm so excited to hear that you went to TOC and you did speech. That's so hilarious. That's fantastic. And totally appropriate for an ENFJ. That is the sort of thing that ENFJs excel the fuck out of.
Oh, yeah. It was, there were lots of ENFJs, too. Like, I did HI, but I like to duo better.
You need the other person.
Oh, my God. One time I did an oratory, though, because I had to be double entered somewhere, and it was so bad because I knew exactly what I was going to say. And I did theater like my entire life. And so I just sort of overestimated my ability to
demonstrate NE.
To explain that I literally forgot all of it. And I said, "You can give me the 6 in this room. Thank you." It was the the worst thing ever. Anyway,
Hey, you
yeah.
know what? That's clean and easy. If I'm judge, I'm like, cool. Get this OO round over faster. You know.
Yeah. I thought about doing debate as well. Like I had to for class, but I mostly
What'd they have you do? Policy, LD, Pope Forum?
I was gonna do Puff, but yeah, I can't even remember what they had me do. I just know. Oh,
It's Spacey.
someone. Oh,
Hello.
hi.
I,
How's it going?
I invited him to come in at the end of this
Oh,
when he was
that's
done
fine.
with his other typing. So, Spacey, I've got to tell you something.
What's up?
You might be surprised, but I've typed our guest here as an ENFJ.
What?
Yes, I have.
Oh.
I wonder
Yeah,
if
there-
you could ask a couple of final clarifying questions. We're at about an hour on the video, which seems like a good length. So this is a good way to end it with a little extra pizzazz. Spacey, can you independently verify her type for me real quick in about 10 minutes?
Okay. Let's see.
I'm going
when
to
were you
smoke a
last?
cigarette.
All right. When were you last in a relationship?
I am in one now.
Okay. What about the last one?
When was
Yeah.
I? Depends on what you consider a relationship.
Whatever you consider a
I
relationship.
think. Sorry, I don't know why. I can't remember if it was September or November of 2018 or 2017.
Well, that's fine. Whatever. Why did you break up with them?
They broke up with me. Well, I don't know if that. I was dating an ISTP, and we dated for like 2 months, and then he was just like, I feel like we don't feel as strongly as we should feel at this point. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. And then it just ended. I was offended at first, and then I was like, yeah, that's about right.
Okay. So it just kind of fizzled out.
Well, it was more like we didn't feel as strongly as we should feel. We didn't feel as much of a future, and so I don't know.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is there wasn't any fighting. It was just like, oh, wait a second, we don't love each other.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was only 2 months, so but like
Oh.
technically we were in a relationship.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about, what about the last long-term one, though?
Oh gosh, I don't even know if I want to go there. I mean, yeah, I dated an INTP and it went really bad.
Okay. Well, what was like the bad thing that made it fall apart?
I don't know. I
Multiple
still don't
things,
know.
but
I just still don't have
know?
closure.
Well, okay, you still don't have. Can you give me an?
No,
What kind of things would you argue about?
I don't remember. I blocked
You
that
don't
out
even know?
because I was so mad. No.
Man.
Yeah, I don't know if I really want to go into my relationship
Okay.
stuff.
All right. What's your relationship like with your parents?
What about it? Good.
Good with both of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Does either of them ever do anything that really annoys you?
Well, yeah, my mom. Well, I think people in general are annoying, but you just have to ask yourself if it's worth dealing with.
Does your mom ever do anything that annoys you?
Yeah,
What does she do?
it's not even really like a thing that she does. It's just like the way she is. I don't know. She's too nitpicky. She does. Sometimes it feels like she doesn't trust me. Like whenever I talk about my endeavors and like, I mean, one time my mom told me, she's an ESFJ, if that matters. She told me every single decision I'm making is the opposite of the decision that she would make, and that I make things hard on myself. I make things difficult on myself, and she just doesn't. It's more just like I'm annoyed that she doesn't get me. I don't know.
So, can you give me an example of an argument you had with her?
No. I literally don't know. I seriously don't. I think one time, like 3 years ago, she said that I could help her make dinner, and I was excited to learn how to make something. And then I took a nap, and then I woke up and I saw that she was already making it, and I got really upset because she should have told me.
Okay.
She should have woken me up, or she should have, made me wake up.
Well, what did she say?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know what she said. I don't categorize, like, I don't like dwell on things once they happen.
Right.
Like,
The past is past, Spacey. Come on.
I mean, I have takeaways of like, okay, I don't know what my takeaway was. I'm sorry. Like,
Mom's a bitch. That was your
Takeaway. Wow. Okay.
I really, to be honest, okay, it's not even just, I know you're technically trying to verify my type. It's not even just polar SI. If someone really hurts me in an FI way, I absolutely don't dwell on it. And so, like, even like you asking me like why my last relationship that went wrong ended, like, I don't want to know the answer to that.
Well, my understanding of ENFJs is that in order for somebody to hurt you in an FI way, they actually have to hurt you in an FE way.
Yeah.
Or they have to make you look bad or something, huh?
Yeah.
So, would you be upset if your mom critiqued you about the way you're handling the dishwasher?
Yeah.
That would upset you, okay. Because that's pushing on your TE, you know?
Well, she needs to realize that she has different problems than me, and she can't judge me by the same standard.
Okay.
And I'm always telling her things like, for me, the complex comes before the simple. So you have to go easy on me. Because I feel like she worries about me. She sees that my sensory world is blowing, or like...
Your SI is not being taken care of, huh?
And so she thinks that that means that there's no possible way that I can have other things taken care of.
Right.
Right. She's got her own function biases.
Yeah.
Do you say, Mom, your function bias is showing again?
Well, every time I try and talk about personality type, she doesn't really seem to want to know. Like, and so...
You should say, is that your function bias, or are you just angry to see me?
Oh my God. Like, sometimes my dad and sister and I will talk about it in front of her, and she'll say, can you guys change the subject? I don't know what you're talking about.
Is she an ESFJ?
Yeah.
Ni-polar.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
You poor Megan.
I know.
Growing up under Ni-polar is such an assault on your being. It's an assault on your tool function, really. You know, it's like the way you do everything is completely blind. I'm completely blind to the way you do everything. Child of mine. Obviously, there's something wrong with you.
But then I also grew up with an ENFJ dad saying, if you believe in yourself, you can do anything you set your mind to. So that was nice.
Good. You only need one. You only need one really loving parent who's affirming your being. Yeah. That's good.
I'm sorry for not answering your questions better. I get very like tripped up whenever I have, because like I remember how I felt, but I don't remember like I said this and then they said this back to me.
I know you get tripped up.
That was that a trick question?
I mean, Eric wanted me to confirm your type in 10 minutes, so.
So you were like, I'm going to ask her a bunch of SI things.
I forgot to account for his fourth slot FE. I'm sorry, Megan. I forgot to account for his fourth slot FE. He wasn't probably as cautious as he could have been. But you know what?
You're fine. I just like, I didn't want it to seem like I was like not willing to answer your questions. I just,
Well, I mean, with you, it's not hard to determine the difference.
Yeah.
Other people, I have to ask them more. I really have to grill them. Like, okay, like, do you not want to tell me about this, or do you actually not remember it? Like,
yeah.
Right.
But
okay, well, this seems like a good stopping spot for the video. I want to give copious thanks to Meghan LeVota for being here today. It was a great pleasure talking to you. And thanks to Spacey as well for dropping in to add a little sizzle to the end of the session here. Hopefully everybody enjoys it. I bet this is going to do better than most of my videos.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it.
Well, I want to interview on my channel too. So.
Yeah, we'll do that next. Sure, not today because I got this thing at 1:30, but we'll do it ASAP. I can do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's pretty open for me.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you soon, and talk to you viewers soon as well. Goodbye.